Welcome to Learn with Sawgrass. I'm Rhonda, the Education Manager here, and we hope through these videos you're going to learn everything you need to know about Sawgrass. Our printers, our inks, our software. Hope you get some inspiration and also some tips to help you sell with Sawgrass too. We're going to come to you twice per week, once recorded and once live, to help make sure that you have everything you need to succeed with Sawgrass. It's the first week of January, and for me, well, the first full week of January, and for me, I always think of this as a time to kind of re-look at your processes, to look at your workflows, to look at how you go about life, and kind of reevaluate where you can improve and make some changes to make things run just a little bit more smoothly. So today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to dive first into Sawgrass Print Utility, where we're going to look at the various workflows of how to get files into the program. And then we're also going to look at some places where naming conventions and things like that are going to become very important. And then we're going to jump over to the MySawgrass design tool and do the same thing. Look at how we save files, how we name files, and hopefully kind of demystify that process a little bit. So come along, let's jump right in. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the Sawgrass Print Utility. Many of you know I do feel at least partially responsible for how this program works because I did a lot of roundtables in the beginning to kind of figure out what people need. One of the things that I realized quickly is that everyone has a different way of using the program. And we wanted to create a program that really accommodates everyone and their workflows. So let's walk through the ways to bring files into the Sawgrass Print Utility. And as we do that, I'm going to talk about file maintenance as we do that portion as well. So let's start with what I feel is the simplest. So I am simply going to hit the Create button. This is going to bring me up to the default screen, and then this is where I can add files. Now, when you are printing, one of the things that I need you to know is that you most definitely can put more than one file on a page. So no matter what workflow you're using, there is a way to add multiples to the page, which helps you conserve paper, helps you save money. We'll dive more into that later on in other sessions, but I do want you to know that's there. So as I hit the Add File button, one of the things that you're going to see is that you can bring in more than one file at a time. So for instance, if I were to click on 3 of these gnomes and hit open, they're all going to come into the same tab. Think of a tab as a job, and because they are a job, if they're small enough to fit on a piece of paper, together they will. Now, of course, these are not sized, they are larger. We typically tell you that if it is something that's not sized for your specific project, not to use this workflow, because this workflow is really for things that are set and ready to go. But for the purpose of showing you, I will go ahead and reduce the size on these. You notice that the width and height are tied together, so when I changed one, the other changed as well. I'm going to do this for the other two. And then I have all 3. I could go in, space these, print these, and they be sized for, let's say, a magnet or a keychain or whatever I'm doing. Again, typically in this situation, this is not the workflow I would use, but I do want to show you a few things here. So you saw the file types that can be brought in. I'll show you again in case you missed it. All of these file types can be added in by hitting the Add button. When is this the proper way to bring files into the program? Well, generally, if they've already been created as PNG files or other ready-to-print files, typically if they're already sized and ready to go, I generally, even if I'm going from something like Illustrator, I will often export them as a PNG and use them because I know that's a set file format. Everything's going to come up correctly and everything's going to be ready to go. So you will notice that in this case, the file name is what I am seeing in the program. So the very first one, the one that imported first, was 3, so it is named 3. Now, of course, that is not how I would recommend you name your files. Generally, the best file structure is going to be one that tells you who the order is for, if it's a print order. Even if it is something that you're doing for a family member, I would often put their name. I would often put the product that it's going on to help clarify. And if there's a number of print or a number of copies that you need to do or products that you need to do, I would go ahead and put that in the name as well. Dates are also something that is easy to add to a file name to make your life a little bit easier. All right, so that is the method of just hitting create, of hitting add. You've seen the steps. It's in create. It is by hitting add here, and then of course if I needed to continue with more individual jobs, I could hit the plus button. Now, how do you determine how many projects you need or whether they can all go together? Well, the easiest answer to that is going to come down to the product. So it really depends on what product you're pressing onto. Everything that is in a tab, therefore in a job, needs to have the same product. So as long as they're going onto the same size paper and it's the same product, then that's going to be what you need. Now, there are other factors, of course, too. If you have, you're doing all cotton t-shirts today, but some of your cotton t-shirts are photographs and some of them are graphics, then you may be changing the color management. So everything that's photographic would be on one tab and then everything that was graphic would be on another. So it's really just dependent on, are all of the settings the same? If they're the same, then go ahead and put them on the same tab. And that's going to make your life a little bit easier. Now let's talk about some other ways to get files into the program. One of them is going to be the Quick Print folder. Now, if you ever talk to me in support back when we were in the Sawgrass Print Manager, you heard me say that I didn't think people use smart folders enough. I feel the same way about Quick Print folders. They are basically the same thing, just a little added up. Just got a few more features. And I really like using the Quick Print folder method. And the reason is because it helps you stay organized, and it really helps you make sure that like if you're doing a lot of orders to kind of batch them so they are opening every time with the settings. There are some things when we talk about our original method of hitting create, there are things like paper size and printer that you can default, but a lot of the other things you're going to have to change. By using the Quick Print folders, when it opens, it's going to open with those settings already defaulted to what you want. So the first thing you need to know about Quick Print folders is that you can add multiple folders. So that means I can have a folder on the desktop for my acrylic projects. I can have a folder on the desktop for my ceramic projects. I can have a folder for my 11 by 17 projects, whatever it is. Set the defaults on the folder, and then by doing that, now I am going to get those same defaults every time. So it's really the fastest of the methods of adding files is using those quick print folders. So I can have multiple folders. Each folder can be set with what those default settings are, and then everything that drops in is going to drop in with this. Now, the really cool thing is you actually can do color management too. So if it's vivid, if you have custom settings that you want to use, if it's something where you have spot colors that you're using, all of that can be set. Now you are seeing that you have control over how often the files delete. I know going way back into Sawgrass history that another great reason for these folders is that people like that it saves the jobs in there. So you do have that option of how often those delete or if they delete, really just depending on your on what you have in your computer. So we are going to go ahead and I'm going to tell it a few things just so you see this works. It's uncoated wood, it's tabloid, I have my printer selected, it's mirrored, so you should see these as the settings when they open. All right, I'm going to go ahead and grab a file. Okay, so I'm going to grab my cats. I'm going to copy those. And you can do this either way. You can drag or you can drop them. Just so you kind of see it. So when I open up my quick print folder, what you're going to see is there is that processed. So anything I add in here once it's open in the program will move to process. So it is saved there. So I don't really have to leave it in the other place. I know my file structure doesn't seem to make any sense, but it does to me. So there are my cats. I can now go in, space them out, do whatever I need to do, and they are ready to go. But as you see, as we go down, this is going onto my tabloid uncoated wood, which is what I wanted it to do, because that is my folder for uncoated wood. So that's kind of the thing with quick print folders. Again, naming conventions do matter. You are seeing those here. Again, it always helps to have a naming convention that kind of tells you a little bit more about it, especially in this situation. So one of the things that the quick print folders really allow you to do is if you have multiple people using the system, those defaults are there. So the operator doesn't really need to know much more other than what folder it goes into, and then it's opening up with the settings that it needs. Now you are noticing this pause button. What you can do is hit pause. If I were to drop things into that folder, they are not automatically going to open up in the program like you just saw. They are just going to sit there until I am ready to use them, and then once I hit the play button, they will open for me. So if I were to go in and drop those, I did have let me make sure I have that checked. I do have it on pause. If I were to go in and drop those again, they're going to sit in the folder, but they're not going to open up in the program until I hit that play button. And then once I hit that, now we're going to see what it's doing, and we're going to see that it is opening it. And I do have that file that has those ready to go. And actually, just to explain what just happened, everything you drop into the folder is going to go into the same job. So we have a second page that's identical to the first. So everything that goes into the folder will assume that you want it in the same job. So even though I dropped them separately, it's all going to go there since that tab was still open. If I'd closed it, that wouldn't have happened. All right, but that's a good thing to know about the program. Okay, so let's talk about the other way to, well, there's two other ways to get files into the program. The other one, we're going to go over to our settings and we're going over to send to Sawgrass Print Utility. So this is very similar to the quick print folders in that I can go in and I can do all of my settings, and that any job I send using this method are going to open up with those settings. The big difference here is that what I am doing is I am going from the program itself. So if I am in Corel Draw, if I am in Adobe Illustrator and I go to File Print, I just choose Send to Sawgrass Print Utility as my printer name, and it's going to open up with all of these settings. So let's just change this. I'm going to say this is felt. I'm going to say this is letter. I'm going to hit save just so you can see that. Okay, let's go ahead and open up something in a program. All right, so I am in Adobe Illustrator. I have a file open. I would just go to File, Print. I'm going to choose the Send to Sawgrass Print Utility. Now notice I am not choosing the SG1000. I'm choosing Send to Sawgrass Print Utility. It's set up for my 8.5 by 11. I'm hitting Print, and that's going to send it over to my Sawgrass Print Utility, and here it comes. I have that open, so I'll close it, and there it is, ready to go. And as you see, it is set to my felt for my letter. All of my settings are there. Okay, so there's one more way to bring files into the program, and that's going to be through recent. So anything that I have gotten all the way to hit the print button with is going to be saved in my recent print jobs. I am able to go in and click on it, and it is going to open up with all of my settings. So everything that I did on my job is going to be here already. So if you are doing a lot of repeat work, this is going to be a great way to make sure that you are getting the same thing every single time. So if you have a lot of files that you print regularly, recents, if I had 5 of these on a page, it would pull it up as 5 on the page. All of my settings are the same as when I printed this. So it is just a great, easy way for those jobs that you do quite a bit. Now, as you saw, even here, there is going to be the ability to control how many jobs are stored. Now, this is local system. So if I were to go over and open up my account on Rhodes's computer, these recent print jobs would not be there because they are saved on my computer. You saw there was one that said the file wasn't there. Well, that's because I deleted some things, and so that's actually not on my system anymore. I'll have to remove that from recents, so I'm not seeing it. So those things are important. There's my job, my recents job, and I can use that. All right, so that's kind of my look at Sawgrass Print Utility. Hopefully I've showed you some new ways to bring files into the program that'll help you improve your workflows in 2026. Next, we're going to jump over to the MySawgrass design tool and look at some things there. Okay, so I am I am on the Sawgrass website. We're going to go ahead and go to MySawgrass. You know, we do offer the 2 programs for you to use. We offer the MySawgrass, which is a web-based program, and then the Sawgrass Print Utility, which is a desktop application. Now, everyone should be using the Sawgrass Print Utility. As you just saw, you can bring files into the program that are not created in our design tool. But our design tool does exist for both those customers who do not have somewhere where they design, and then also because it does have the template. So we can make sure that it is the correct size and shape when you're done with the design to go right onto your product and make your life a little bit easier. Now, one of the things that I'm going to start with a little bit different is this is going to be all about how files are stored in the program. And if there's one thing that I feel confuses people, it's going to be this. So I'm going to go over to my name. I'm going to go over to my profile. And what you're going to see is my studio. My studio is going to be everything that I have created in the design tool and hit the save button on. So as long as you hit that save button, and I'll show you where it is in just a little bit, it's going to be here in your studio. You are choosing the name. You are adding a description. You are doing all of those things. So now this is your completed designs. I can then come back. I can hit my 3 dots and I can open that in the designer if I need to make changes to it. If I hit manage post details, I can just go in and hit the print button. So I can just hit print and send this over to the tool from there. If I hit save, it's going to go right back to the same spot. Now, if you are in the US, you do have the My Store option as well. The only things that go there are things where you hit add to store. Otherwise, they're going to live here in your studio. And so in just a minute, we'll be back on that screen. Now, if I wanted to do a series with this particular design, did someone say walk? If I really love this artwork and I wanted to do some variations on that with different lines of text. So if I were to just click on this, hit open in designer and go in and change that from did someone say walk to is it time for a walk or walk with me, and I were to go through the same process and hit save, it would save over. So this is a true save function. If I were to go in and hit save, it would save over. I would no longer have my one that said, did someone say walk? So there is a method to do that, and that's where your galleries become very important. So let's go back into design as if I'm starting fresh. I'm going to pretend that I'm doing a 15-ounce mug today. And so once that template opens, I'm going to go down to my gallery. Now, you've probably noticed that whether you're creating a background, whether you are uploading a file, whether you are doing anything, it's going to ask you to save. And that's because it saves all of those things into your gallery. But we're going to look right now at a design, and then we're going to come back and talk about that. But if I go into my designs, this is everything I have ever done and either hit print on or got to the net green. So everything should be here in my designs. Well, there is one exception. Only things that have a template. If I had done something on a custom canvas, that's going to be saved in just a slightly different spot. So let's say that I really love this. I did it as an ornament. I'm going to click on this, and it's going to come right up here on my mug. Now I can take this design, I can make this into something that is mug friendly. Duplicate that and do everything I need for it to be a mug. Now, same thing though, if I'd wanted to keep it as an ornament, but I wanted to change it from friends to aunts, I could do that and save it, and now I'd have my aunt version and I would have my friend version. But I can come in here, I can now make this a mug, and it's not going to delete my ornament even though I use the same file. It's just going to go in there as a completely separate unit. And now I can reuse that artwork on various products and have it, because I really love this design. All right, but if I go back into my galleries and I go into my designs. First of all, you notice that, of course, anytime you hit save, it asks you to put it in a category. That's where this comes in. So here are all my categories that I've created. And then you'll notice that I could go in and I could actually change the name of that. I also could go into a file, and if I hit edit, I can actually move that to somewhere else. So if I didn't want it in bags, but I wanted it in notebooks, I can move it over there if I'd accidentally put it in the wrong spot. So this is a great way to organize your files. And not only that, if I wanted to clean up and I had actually created 2 of these, I could go in and I could delete one. I could do the same thing with these notebooks that are similar. I could go in and clean that up. So this really allows you to use a file structure and to put things where they need to be in your galleries. And then, of course, as I said, if I were to go over here and hit save and print, it's now going to let me give it a name. This is going to be Friends, and this is going to be Mug. And then I could put it in my mugs. I could save this as new, and now I will have both. So galleries really gives you a lot of freedom to be able to have all of your files, to have everything you've added, and then be able to reuse it. And I consider this to be a save as function as opposed to a save function, because I'm using the same artwork. I'm just using it a little bit different. Now, what your naming structure looks like here is really going to depend on what you're using this for. It really needs to be what's going to make it easiest for you to find. If you are selling, if you are hitting post for sale, you're going to want to say Friends 15-ounce mug with snowflake design, or something that makes it stand out. If I were doing this as regular orders, it may be more important to me to be able to give it a name, again, like we did before, the customer's name, what the product is, those kind of things may be more helpful to you. But I'm going to hit save, and then this will be right there in my studio where I can pull that up. But if I wanted to use this design on a t-shirt and a keychain and a magnet, because I really enjoy it, I could go ahead and do the same, my gallery path, to be able to do the same thing. So that's going to save.
There it is.
All right, and now that is saved. And as you can see, it has been added, and I still have my snowflake ornament as well. And so this allows you to do a variety of things, save them, and then pull them up later for easy use. Okay, so that's it. I hope that helps kind of demystify some things, explain some things, and help you think about your workflows in both the Sawgrass Print Utility and in the MySawgrass design tool. Hopefully this will kind of give you a good start on 2026, help you get some things organized and be ready to go. Okay, so join us every Wednesday afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern live on YouTube, where we will be giving you all of that great Sawgrass information. And then these recorded workshops are going to be right there too in that Learn with Sawgrass playlist right on the Sawgrass channel. So join us there. Hopefully you're going to get a lot of tips and tricks and some inspiration so that you can succeed with Sawgrass. Bye-bye.